Imagine a society so isolated that accidentally interacting with foreigners could get you kicked out. Welcome to Edo, Japan. During the late 1500s and early 1600s, Japan was curious about the outside world, particularly the Portuguese traders who came knocking on their doors. However, as the centuries rolled by, Japan retreated into its shell, becoming a hermit society by the 1800s. This change was enforced by a series of exclusion laws. Christians were not allowed in Japan, and newcomers were turned away. Japanese citizens were forbidden to travel abroad, and large ships were dismantled to prevent any potential departures. Even those who had left earlier were not permitted to return. Any foreign objects, such as books, were banned. The society's stringent adherence to these laws meant that, in a span of 250 years, while Europe was in constant flux, Japanese society barely changed. Despite the isolation, Japan's economy and population grew, thanks to the introduction of currency and increased farming. Gold and silver coins began to circulate, yet for the common folk, rice remained the dominant currency. The economy was bolstered by a surge in farming activities, although the peasantry was held back by the burden of taxes. Without the influx of foreign trade and products, Japan had to lean heavily on its natural resources. Buildings, for instance, were constructed from wood, which was also used for fuel. This over-reliance on timber, however, led to widespread deforestation, causing floods and triggering soil erosion, an environmental toll that was a byproduct of the nation's seclusion. In a twist of fate, isolation led to peace, prosperity, and a cultural flourish. With the absence of wars, Japan was able to devote its energies to economic growth and cultural development. So, while isolation had its challenges, it also bore unexpected fruits. From kabuki theater to tea ceremonies, Edo, Japan's culture was a colorful tapestry. In a society where all actors were male, kabuki theater was an art form that captivated audiences with its dramatic performances. The tea ceremony, a quintessential part of Japanese culture, was a reflection of the society's values, where every movement carried a meaning, and every sip of tea was a nod to tradition. The cultural landscape of Edo, Japan was not limited to just these. The nation had its unique wrestling style, sumo, that drew parallels with the Roman Colosseum's gladiatorial battles. The art of haiku, a poetic form that encapsulated the beauty of nature and human emotion in just 17 syllables, was deeply ingrained in the society. Bunraku, the large puppet theater, was another form of entertainment that showcased the craftsmanship and storytelling skills of the Japanese. Kendo, a martial art that combined physical, mental, and moral aspects, was a testament to the discipline and dedication of the Japanese people. The arts of Edo, Japan were not merely for entertainment. They were a reflection of the way of life, a means to hone skills, and a representation of the society's worldview. In this society, where foreign interactions were highly regulated, English translators like Ronald MacDonald played a crucial role in bridging the cultural gap. They helped in opening up to foreigners and spreading knowledge among the Japanese people. Despite its rigid rules, Edo, Japan found its pressure release in the floating worlds of entertainment. By the late 1700s, the feudal system of Edo, Japan was showing cracks. The shogunate's attempts to limit societal change had ironically created a volatile economic climate. Merchants grew in wealth due to the high demand for loans, which were needed by everyone from peasants to the daimyo. However, this newfound prosperity for the merchant class further deepened the debt pit for the struggling peasants, who were already burdened with heavy taxes. The samurai class, once the nobility of society, found themselves jobless, and the once rich daimyo were impoverished by alternative attendance policies. Survival for many meant marrying into the merchant class, a stark sign of the times. The late 1700s and early 1800s also saw a wave of natural disasters, leading to famines and widespread starvation. A third of the population perished, and the survivors flooded into the cities, causing rice prices to inflate and social unrest to erupt. The people, unhappy and desperate, began to see these disasters as divine intervention, a sign from the gods that society needed to change. Meanwhile, outside of Japan's tightly sealed borders, foreign powers were growing interested. Russia, England, and the United States saw potential in Japan's resources and strategic geography. In 1825, the shogunate responded to this interest with hostility, ordering foreign ships to be fired upon and driven off. Despite its isolationist policies, the world was knocking on Japan's door, ready to usher in a new era,